It's the grand finale of the World Pâtissier tournament where pastry chefs from all over the world come together to make magnificent pastries. Out of all these talented people, the hero is the most talented. His pastries are so good that he was nicknamed the Blessed Child of God. And for this tournament, he has created this beautiful giant phoenix out of candy. Everyone is sure that he will be crowned the best pâtissier in the world. As they take his creation to the judges, it falls on him and crushes his head, killing him in the process. The hero regrets not being able to fulfill his dream of making the world's best pastry. But suddenly, the voice of God speaks to him and gives him another chance to spread his talents. He is reborn in the sovereign territory of Morteln as Pastry Mille Morteln. His name is Pastry? Oh, the bullies are going to have fun with him. The territory of Morteln was barren land when Pastry's father became the Lord. But they worked together for over 20 years until the fields became fit for all sorts of crops. Now, the territory of Morteln consists of 3 villages with about 40 people each. Pastry is now 9 years old, and he is learning sword fighting with his father, whose name is... Oh, I can't believe this. With his father, Pastry Mille Morteln, the Viscount of the Morteln territory. And what's his mother's name? Cinnamon? Anyways, despite having a food for a name, Casserole is a harsh instructor and pushes Pastry to become a tough warrior. But Pastry is more focused on making sweets, like in his old life. However, the territory of Morteln cannot grow sugar probably, so that makes it an issue for him. Just then, one of his subordinates, Sheets, comes to give him a report. Sheets says that he has good news and bad news. The good news is that they will have a bountiful harvest of beans this year. Pastry suggested sparkling lime on the field, which gave them plenty of crops, despite the rest of the kingdom suffering from a famine. He also suggests some fancy dishes made from beans and casserole and Sheets, as to how he could know all that. Pastry cannot say that he was reincarnated, so he just says that he had dreams. Then, Sheets gives them the bad news. The neighboring regions fought some bandits but could not defeat all of them. The remainder of these bandits are now headed this way, and there are 50 of them. If they enter Morteln, then they will steal all of the crops and trample all the fields. Sheets believes that these 50 bandits might reach their area in about 2 months. Sheets suggests that they arm the men with spikes and slings to fight back the bandits. Pastry thinks that even with all 3 villages combined, they will have 30 adult men. Casserole considers asking the nearby Count Reitz for help. But Sheets points out the politics. If they defeat the bandits that the Count could not defeat, then the people will see the Count as weak, causing issues between them. The Count probably wants the bandits to destroy Morteln, and then he will pick up the remainders himself. Pastry is worried because this will hinder his plans to build a kingdom of sweets. Pastry becomes super determined to stop the bandits and fulfill his dream no matter what. Sheets looks at his face and is impressed that Pastry's taken the whole thing so seriously. So he comes up with a plan that involves making Pastry their trump card. He suggests putting Pastry through the sanctification ceremony, which might give him magic or stuff like that. That night, Casserole tells his decision to his wife and Pastry's mother, Agnes. Oh, thank God she doesn't have a weird name. Agnes is hesitant at first because Pastry is a bit too young for the ceremony. But Casserole says that he is way more advanced than other kids his age. So, he's ready. Agnes does not argue further. Instead, she prepares to dress up Pastry in the cutest dress she can find. Not sure how that fits a boy, but hey, you do you. Pastry's elder sister, Josephine, is also equally excited to dress up Pastry. It's like they got their own Barbie doll. Except this Barbie doll is a living, breathing boy. On the day of his departure, Pastry is really tired from all the dressing up that his mother and sister did on him. Agnes comes and tells him to do his best. Pastry's best friends Mark and Lumi have also come to bid him farewell. Mark says that he would like to dress in fancy clothes too, but Lumi says that he'd look bad in it, casing Mark to get angry. Once they are done having fun, Casserole tells Sheets to take of things while he is gone. Then, he uses a teleportation magic to take Pastry to the royal capital. Mark and Lumi are amazed at Casserole's power, while Agnes and Josephine still think that Pastry should have worn a woman's dress. They reach the capital city, and all Pastry can focus on are the food, especially the sweet ones. Morteln does not have the necessary sweets to make these stuff after all. Seeing his enthusiasm, Casserole offers to buy him something once his ceremony is over. Pastry does not know which to choose. He wants all of them. Then, his eyes land on the apples. He is amazed to see them and decides to buy them after his ceremony. He already dreams of all the things he could do with them, and even suggests his father that they plant apples. Seeing his motivation, Casserole thinks that Pastry is trying to build a strong territory, which makes him happy. But Pastry is more focused on planning to build his land of candy. Then they go to the church where the priest is well known amongst the nobles. Casserole has come to him before to conduct his daughter's sanctification ceremonies. Now it's Pastry's turn. The priest is shocked to hear that Pastry will be doing his sanctification ceremony at such a young age. Meanwhile, Josephine and Sheets talk about how the ceremony is where you get your magic. When Josephine went for her sanctification ceremony, they said that she had low magic power. So she did not go through the whole ceremony. She hopes that Pastry will have enough magic. Meanwhile, Pastry has been tied up and blindfolded and only given bitter water every once in a while. Magic is a power hidden deep within people, and this is the only way to draw it out, through tolerating hardships, all alone. 1.5 days later, and Casserole is starting to get worried that it's taking so long. But the priest says that more time means more magic power. Still, Casserole is worried. Meanwhile, Pastry is having the time of his life, planning on all the things he can make with the apples. Pies, tarts, caramelized apples. So many things he could do. Suddenly, strange golden lights surround him from all sides. Then, they enter his body. Right after that, his father wakes him up. After staying in the dark for 2 whole days, Casserole congratulates him on completing the ceremony. Now, for the final part of the ceremony, the priest will read from the scripture, which will be a blessing for him. Also, if he has attained his magic, then he will find meaning in the scripture. The priest reads many long lines from the scripture. While that is happening, Pastry suddenly gets a vision of his past life being a popular pastry chef, and of his reincarnated life. He starts to understand what he can and cannot do with the reincarnation that he got. Suddenly, the magic starts flowing into him from the scripture. In real life, too, the lights fall from the heavens and enter his body, and thus the sanctification ceremony is over. Both Casserole and the priest are shocked at how much magic Pastry has been filled with. The priest says that Pastry has gained more power than a normal person would. Casserole thanks the priest and pays him for the service, and they go their way. The priest sees that he only got silver coins, and says that this was something to be expected of a minor lord who got his territory after fighting on the battlefield. He says that this not enough money to keep his mouth shut. Meanwhile, Casserole and Pastry are at the market, and Pastry takes a long time just to choose between 2 apples. One is heavier, sure, but the other has a more lustrous color. He just can't decide. He's that much of a perfectionist when it comes to food. He finally buys a few that he really likes, and the shopkeeper even gives him extra ones because of his enthusiasm. Pastry finally gets to eat apples, the thing he had not been able to eat ever since being reincarnated. And it's freaking wonderful. Casserole also seems to be enjoying it. Pastry tells his father that they should not tell the others that they ate the best pieces of the apples. Then, they continue eating, with Pastry making plans for apple pies and apple tarts and apple candies, until one day, he makes his own land of sweets. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.